Hello everyone, welcome to Ultimate Diecast. My name's Tyrone and this is the second video of 3 I'll be doing on tanks and other artillery pieces. Should we just get on with the show? With this Challenger from the UK, mainland division. This is a main battle tank as far as I know. I'm only just sort of guessing at any details of these because I'm not a military minded person, but I was impressed by this series and asked to borrow them, and long story short, I got my own way and here they are. Nothing really moves on these, they're not toys, but still impressive to have in the studio nonetheless. I threatened I'd get the scales out in the last video just to check out what some of these weigh. I think the Abrams is the heaviest in the whole set at 151 grams, so there's a lot of metal to these. They're pretty high quality. I don't know who made them, what scale they are, or pretty much anything about them, and neither did the owner because the owner wasn't the person who bought them. It's a long story, we won't get into it, but they do have to go back, so I do have to be very careful with them. I alluded in the first video, as we look at a Leopard, I alluded in the first video that I do enjoy going to museums, military museums around the world. If I happen to be in a city that has a military museum, more often than not I'll make the time to visit. I was in one such place in a town in Bavaria. I can't exactly remember the town, but it was a really nice building. It was sort of set in a castle type building, turned into a military museum, and each room had a huge diorama, I suppose you'd call it, in the centre underneath plastic, and it was the one I was most captivated with was this huge scene of a couple of villages dotted around the landscape, and cannon going off, and they had little puffs of cotton wool coming out of the cannon. Not like this cannon, more like the horse and cart dragged cannon. Where are we? Imagine that kind of cannon, but without the vehicle towing it. That sort of thing, and there were soldiers everywhere, and it was very spectacular. But all of the subtitles written around the board were in German. I couldn't find anything in English, so I asked the person that we were with, where did this battle take place? And she looked at one of these plaques and said, out that window. And I looked out the window at a field, and it's like, oh my lord, this is Europe. War is a thing. In Australia and New Zealand, where I grew up, as we gaze on at a Sherman Tank from the US, served in France 1945. Growing up in New Zealand and living in Australia for most of my life, we don't know war. Wars happen and our countries contribute with troops, medical supplies, that sort of thing, but war isn't something that's touched my life at all. So very fortunate to have grown up in New Zealand and lived most of my life in Australia. So yeah, what do I know about a Sherman Tank? Not much, apart from the philosophy was to build them very quickly and get them over to Europe in vast numbers, and they did. Next one is Centurion, 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars, served in Korea, 1950. What do I know about the Korean conflict? I was about to say Korean War, but the argument is it was never a war, it was a police action. If you declare war on somebody like that with Russia or China or both backing, it tends to lead to bigger things, doesn't it? 1950, everybody was armed to the teeth. What a brute. Next one, Vietnam. The Vietnam War, curiously, is known by Vietnamese people as the American War. Of course it is. There's always at least two sides to the story, isn't there? Yet another horrid conflict. I wouldn't want to be in this in the jungle. Oof. It's crazy the things tanks can do, though. I've seen documentaries, a lot of documentaries on tanks. Still don't know much about them as we look at yet another tank. This is got the Italian flag on it, 2002. Curiously, brake lights and indicators. All the rest didn't give a hoot. We go where we want, when we want. We tell no one. And this one even has headlights. But 2002, big difference. I forget completely what I was mumbling about, but just enjoy the tank. Nice. Oh, the documentaries I've seen on tanks, as we look at the last one of this particular video, in the Tiger. There was, I believe it was a German ad. It might have been for beer, I don't recall, but they rested a jug of beer on the end of the gun, and it was a very modern tank, and they drove this tank up and down ditches and through muddy puddles and everything, and the tank driver got out and took the still very full mug of beer off the gun and took a sip from it. I think it might have been World's Funniest Ads or something, but yeah, high precision machines these days. And there you have it, another thing I know nothing about. But if you're into your tanks, I'm sure you've enjoyed having a little look at least. As we go upstairs, because the numbers have increased, haven't they? I have one more of these videos to show you to round out the 20 odd pieces I have before they all head back to their rightful owner. I hope you're enjoying these. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.